Hi there, I'm Neil Barker and welcome to AppleiPodParts.com's video for the iPhone 4S logic board swap. Here's some of the tools we use straight in. Here's the screw organiser tray. You can get all these on our website. That's fantastic for organising the screws. The awesome iSesamo. This tool is versatile for everything. It's brilliant. We love that. Phillips screwdriver. You need one of these for a lot of the screws inside. You could, again, little flat blade screwdriver for getting the little turret screw out of the there's two in there actually, and of course the Pentalo 5-star screwdriver. This is the professional edition, and this one's a pair of tweezers for getting all those fiddly little things, cables, screws out, where your fingers won't reach. All these tools are available on AppleiPodParts.com on the tools section. Various different tools you can get, but definitely recommend at least these ones. You can get the toolkits that have these in as well. The iSesamo, you buy separately, the screw tray, this, that, and the other, but have a look on our site. So straight in for the Pentalo screws at the bottom of the device. These, of course, can be a bit tricky to undo. It's always good to have a good quality Pentalo screwdriver and good quality screws. If the screws round off in any way, shape or form, then get some replacement ones. Obviously, we do the replacement screws on our site as well. So we're inside the 4S, quite simple, and we're going to swap out the logic board today. So what we're going to do, my colleague here, that I'm doing a voiceover for, he's pretty cool on this. What he's pointing out there is the fact that there's a screw missing already. Someone's been inside it, and that screw there is quite synonymous with coming out. There's a little lug underneath that holds the screw. It's quite prone to breaking off. The lug disappears, so that's not there. But everything else seems to be intact. All these screws we're going to go for. There's the dock screws, the keep plate for the dock connector. He's already pointed out the battery, and the screws for the top plate here. All have to come out. And there's a little Bluetooth, sort of holder piece for the Bluetooth cable there. So relatively straightforward. The screw organiser tray helps keep all the screws separately because they're all different lengths, so you've got to be aware of that. We also do the eye screws, which is from the same manufacturer as the iSesamo on our site. They have little holes where you fit the screws in place so you don't lose where they are. That's brilliant. So check out the eye screws on our site. So we're going to quickly get into whipping all these screws out. Obviously we've shown placements. You can stop the video wherever you want and check out where we're at with these. But again, the little screw tray, as you can see, keeps them all separate. You can either keep it as this is worked here, or you can actually put the device in the centre of the screw tray and work around the outside. I prefer to do that, but everybody has their different ways. It's really key that you keep all the screws and they go in the right place. So I've undone all the key screws. And what we do, you use the plastic non-opening tool, non-damaging tool, and you get under the little battery clutch here. Beware not to get right underneath. There's a little tag there that goes underneath the battery connector at the top, and that holds down the antenna cable. Obviously, that will spin off, so you've got to make sure that you catch that at the same time. So the battery comes undone. Be careful not to put too much force underneath that the black connector where the battery plugs into, because a lot of people tear that off the board, and that's bad news. So we've taken the keep plate off the dock connector, and now we're going for the keep plate for all the screen connectors and everything. Comes way at the top. You can see it has two little lugs that connect into the board, but it should come away towards the top of the phone. What we're going to do is release the dock connector. We're going to use the non-damaging tool, but it will still do damage, so be careful. Make sure you don't hit any of those chips in there, those tiny little microchips. You only get under the connector in the cable, and you lift that away. It's held down, it's a little bit sticky. This one's been off before by the look of it, so it's not so sticky. So be gentle on peeling that back. And you've got all these ancillary connectors at the top, screen, cables, volume cable, that we're going to get under. But the thing is that you need to do is use a good quality, quite a sharp plastic tool, so there's no chunky bits all over it. And you're going to just get under the connector. Ensure that you take your time over this. So we just popped the camera and the two screen connectors. I want you to take more caution over it than my colleague, because he's done hundreds and hundreds of these, if not thousands. But as you go under the connectors, you need to be more careful, really slow, just to make sure that you're not taking any chips with it, because if you do that, then you're going to write your board off, and that's bad news. So really do take your time when going underneath connectors and lifting them up. I can't emphasize that enough. Here's the little Bluetooth connector. We've taken the screw out, and this little black clasp comes out of the phone, and it has a little sort of catch there, and it's like a little keep plate really, and it comes away. Sometimes it gets stuck to the underside of the Bluetooth antenna. It has a little foam pad on top. Sometimes they get stuck, so you lift that away, and the little cable that's come away with it, it's a little circular connector that's lifted off. Normally you'd have to get under, like my colleague shows you here, and just ping it off. Again, being really careful not to take any ancillary chips or anything like that with it. Just can't emphasise enough. Take your time lifting connectors. It's not worth not, if you know what I mean. So there's a little turret screw there. You've got the little vibration motor and some screws around the board. One in the corner of the vibration motor, one underneath where the camera was. This normally has a little bit of black tape over it. So beware of this, because you can lift the board without realising that there's a screw there. So peel the black tape off here and then get to the screw. This one's been open before. This one's a little turret screw there, you see, with that's just in the top right corner. So we're going to go for the little Phillips screw there by the vibration motor. One in the centre of the board here. That one comes out quite straightforward, unless we flip the screw around. There we go. And one in the corner here. Again, it's under tape normally, so lift the tape up. Keep the tape. Tape really needs to go back on. This one's been opened before, and obviously the tape's been discarded, not by us, I might add. The little turret screws. This one has a little gold contact. Note the orientation of the gold contact. It touches the camera module when it goes in there, and it must go back the same way. It has two little contacts that kind of sit parallel with the top of the phone, and they come down and they touch the camera. Again, they're all in there for a reason, so don't miss stuff out. Apple wouldn't bother making millions of those little brackets if they weren't needed. So they really must go back. I can't emphasise that enough. Too many people think, it's not worth putting back in. It really is. Apple wouldn't do it otherwise. Little turret screw there, little flat blade screwdriver gets these turrets out. Again, both turrets are different on here, so make sure that you know which one's which. And there's the top turret screw there. Come out quite straightforward. Again, the iScrews on our website will help you keep all the screws separately. If you're not confident to use our screw separator tray in the top right. Each to their own, depends what your ability and confidence level is. So now they're out, we've got most of the stuff off the board. It's time to start looking into removing bits and bobs on the board. So we've got various components here. The battery needs to come out, so we're going to go in, use a nice, this one's been out before, so it comes out quite nice and easy. Some of them are really stubborn. What you don't want to do is pry between the board and the battery if you can help it, because you could damage the board. But if you can go between the side of the case and the battery with something that's not going to snag the battery, because they are delicate, then go for it. Be careful. I'd use a plastic tool or a spudger. You could use the metal tool like that. It's up to you. But if you nick the battery, then you're going to damage the battery. It's only got a thin outer sort of casing. So we're going to lift the antenna cable off there. That there's a little circular connector that comes off. You can use the tweezers to get under there. But again, as you're going underneath stuff to pluck out, I did say pluck out, then obviously be mindful of not taking any chips off the board. SIM tray comes out. A lot of people forget the SIM tray, and your board won't come out without that. And then we lift the board up. Again, you lift it up at the bottom and you pull it out away from the top, and it comes away nicely. Well, that's the board out. We're going to get the new board and bring it in. Remember, all the tools and the parts, apart from the logic boards, you can get on our site. You can't buy logic boards. They just go into different phones. They never come on the market really. So the new board goes in diagonally, top first, and you've got to tuck it on under all manner of cables and bits and bobs, and make sure that no cables get trapped underneath the board. That's quite common with these cables that I've just my colleague's just waggled with his thumb there. You've got to make sure that they are up, otherwise they'll disappear under your board. You'll screw the board down and wonder where they are, and you may damage them as well. So it goes in at the top. The best thing to do is, there's a little bit of a catch underneath the frame the board slots into. So the top goes in first, diagonally almost, minding all the cables. Bit fiddly. Again, take your time. If you have to force it, and this is what I say in all my videos, if you have to force the board down, there's a problem, and you will break something. If it goes in nice and easily, it's all sorted. It's designed to go in nice and easily. That's the Apple way. So it goes in at the top, and then you gently push it down towards the bottom and make sure that it sits all comfortably. There's no springiness in it. at the bottom as well, the antenna cable that sits around across the dock, make sure that doesn't tuck under the board. That's quite common. So you first start by, we've started by putting a little turret screw in the bottom edge. Again, if there's no springiness to the board, go ahead and screw it down. Have a good check to see if there's anything trapped. The top turret screw goes in and get nipped up, and we're into connecting up all the cables. The cables, to be honest, they fall where they should fit, and they go on quite simply. If you have to force something, there's a problem. So do not force connectors down. You'll mash your board. The antenna cable here, it routes around the turret screw, around a little keep lug, and then onto the circular connector. You've got to be really careful when pushing down these circular connectors, because you can peen them over on one side and render it useless. Same with this little chicken. I did say chicken. This little circular Bluetooth connector, again, that tucks behind that metal plate. Don't have it this side of it. It goes between the metal plate and the board, and then it finds its way home, and you gently with your thumb find its location. It's really fiddly. Do not force it. Take your time, and it pushes down. You get a nice little click, or you feel the click more than you hear it when it sits on that little circular connector. Do not force it. Okay, it doesn't need it, and if you have to force it, you will break it. It's a very, very tiny little connector on the board, and it's very easily damaged, and you're into big problems then. As you can see here, my colleague he's taking his time, and he's making sure that he doesn't pin it over. He knows the importance of not damaging this. Really does. So that's on there. Nice little confirmation click, and we're into putting the board back together. First, this little gold connector is what I mentioned to you. The orientation is key, otherwise the camera won't go in there. That sits on there, like I say, probably, it's logical where it goes when you see it. What you have to do is put the screw in. As you tighten the screw, it will move it slightly. So you've got to have your little finger in there to try and keep it from going awry, to make sure that it sits there nicely. There we go, the two screws are going to go in the board. You've got the screw down by the vibration motor, and the screw in the middle of the board. Again, we know where all the screws have to go. They're all different sizes. So just make sure you get the right ones in there. Right. We're getting somewhere now. Same with the dock connector. Don't stick the cable down before you put the dock in. Put the connector in first. It will find its home nicely with your thumb, and then push it in, and you get a nice little sort of confirmation there. Little camera module goes in. Again, if you had the tape, you need to put it back over where that screw was. And we're going to slide the camera in there. It drops in those gold contacts, and the connector sits at home. Now, what I tend to do is that I tend to go over all the connectors with a little push tool, just to make sure they're all fully home, because it's okay putting them on with your thumb, but you may only put it half on. My colleague is pretty proficient, so he knows what he's doing, but if I were you, just to stop any of the fact that you're putting it down and going, no, it just doesn't work, confirm it with a nice press of a tool on the back of the connector, gently of course. So the screen connectors go down quite simply, and then the little Bluetooth keep plate, and then this connector here that goes over the whole of them. And this is also the Wi-Fi signal plate that sits in two tabs, tick into the board, and then it pushes down towards the top. And this cable, actually, where he's pointing, it hooks into the board nice and gently. And then, of course, the top. We're going to put all these screws in place now for the Wi-Fi plate and the little Bluetooth plate here. Top screw is the longest one that goes in. And then you've got two really dilly screws just there. I'd replace one where the Wi-Fi was. Of course, that screw was missing. Chances are the lug's missing. It's been snapped off by someone who had it open before, and thus there's nowhere to put the screw in. This is why we've not fitted one. It could affect the Wi-Fi signal inversely, but as long as the prongs underneath are touching the plate, which we've made sure, then there's not too much issue. Little dot connector keep plate goes on here. On the 4S, this has the serial number as well, so it's always a nice place to confirm the serial number. as well as on the SIM tray in case the phone doesn't power up. These go on. Again, all the screws are nipped up, nothing's over tightened, because you can get into trouble that way. Nicely done. Again, all the tools and the parts you can get on our website. Even a new SIM tray, if you lose that and it pings across the floor and you lose it again under the sofa. Battery goes in. We tend to put the, well, it's up to you, we make sure that the cable's tucked in nicely. My colleague here, all the connectors find their place. Nice little push with the thumb, and then the battery sits in, and it just uses the original glue to make sure that it sits in nicely. You don't have to re-glue it down or anything like that. You just make sure the cables are out of the way. Nicely done there. Just to make sure the battery doesn't tag any cables on the way down and tear them. And this little keep plate stroke contact, it contacts the back of the phone for signal reasons. It slides under the top contact with the little black keep plate sitting over that little antenna cable to make sure that doesn't pop off. And then that screw goes in to the little battery connector. Again, when you're removing the battery, it's too late now because you've already done it probably. Hopefully you're watching this video through before you attempt to repair. When you lift the battery connector out, be careful not to get underneath the whole connector on the board, and you only get the top, very top plate of the battery. Otherwise you'll tear the battery connector off your board, and then you're into a world of solder pain. Even if sometimes we've seen some that aren't repairable. Back slides on, high, it goes in high, clips in place, high about 2 or 3 millimeters, clips in place, and then slides down towards the bottom of the phone. Again, if you have to force it, there's a problem. It should just slide nicely down. And then the 2 pentalobe screws at the bottom. It's key, if you damage these or they look a bit scuffed or rounded, don't put them back because you'll never get them out again. Get a pair of replacement screws from our website, and you're laughing. It's worth a couple of quid or whatever they are. And that's the final step in obviously putting back together the 4S. Nice and simple and straightforward. Maybe, maybe not, but there you go. If you need any tools for iPhones, iPads or iPods, get them on AppleiPodParts.com, as well as spare parts. We're the place to go to. Use the discount code in the bottom of the video, and obviously enjoy. Hope it's useful, and thanks for watching.